Well, Dr. Clavijo, Olarte, and Daniel Calderón, thank you for being with us. Today we are just having some couple of questions about your presentations, and I will start with maybe asking about your academic and professional background. Could you please tell us about it a little bit?
Thank you, Juliana, for this invitation and this space. We know this TESOL is a very academic, important event for our field. I'd like to talk a little bit about my background. I'm a teacher educator in applied linguistics. My area of research and expertise is literacy and teacher education. And what I have been doing for the last 25 years as a teacher educator is to do research with teachers, to bring the voices of teachers and the innovations in their classrooms related to literacies. And language education. So I'm a teacher educator and researcher, very much interested lately on looking at community-based pedagogies and place-based pedagogies to construct local knowledge with teachers, in-service and pre-service teachers, so that we can somehow transform with the teachers the quality of education in public schools.
Okay, thanks for having us here. And as for me, I'm an EFL teacher at Universidad Distrital, which is the largest public university here in Bogota. I teach English to students from different professional degrees, from chemistry, biology, math. And well, I've got a master's degree in Loyola University in Chicago in English Language Teaching and Learning. And I'm also currently doing my second master's here at Universidad Distrital on applied linguistics for TFL.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Dr. Clavijo. We've been discussing about the importance of addressing students' realities, and in particular your study and the presentation about community-based pedagogy is highly committed to this aim. Where did the idea of using local literacy as a resource for learning and teaching come from?
From my background as a PhD in education, very much focused on language as a resource. I started 20 years ago the research group understanding that the first language, our first language, Spanish, is a very important resource for learning a foreign language. So from there, we have moved into the language, culture, and the pedagogies that imply valuing our language, our cultures, and the diversity that we have within a diverse country like Colombia. So this has been a progressive interest in research that has taken different shapes. First, looking at the two languages and now what we call translanguaging. But now looking also at the languages and the cultures and the social problems that we have had in terms of displacement and in terms of mobility in Colombia and from other countries to Colombia, like the Venezuelan case that we have right now. I think that we need to educate teachers to be very, very sensitive to this diversity in the classroom. We have had indigenous students in classrooms in downtown Bogota, and we have had graduate students address these needs and the priority of the mother tongue before thinking about English as a foreign language to be learned. So we have Embera Catillo students learning and cultivating and keeping and maintaining their Embera language, then having instruction in Spanish and English, of course, at that moment of starting learning Spanish would not be as important as maybe later on when they grow up in their education of their mother tongue. So that's how we became interested in looking at languages and literacies. And of course, this TESOL 3, whose topic is rejuvenating literacies, cultures, and pedagogy, fits very well to the topic that we're researching currently with students and teachers from Bogota.
Thank you very much, Dr. Clavijo. In your opinion, Daniel, in your presentation you mentioned this special or this particular topic on community-based pedagogy. Could you please elaborate a little bit more on that notion? Maybe give us some examples of that?
Okay, that's a very turning question because I think teachers would have heard about what community-based pedagogies are. But especially we may struggle on what it looks like in real life. So community-based pedagogies, it's I would say more than a theory, it's a way of doing and educating. It's appreciating, valuing, and incorporating students' knowledge, students' backgrounds, communities' backgrounds, and what the community's assets have for us to foster a more pertinent and I would say more context-responsive teaching and learning practices. So we oftentimes see that education is considered within those top-down models in which we have been imposed what and how to teach oftentimes, but in here we depart from the very beginning, which is who we are, what do we have, and how our communities are, and what do they have. So it's like going the other way around. Let's begin from what we are, what we have, in order to make a more meaningful pedagogy or pedagogical task.
Okay, so we are almost towards the end of our interview. What will be like the piece of information that you will want our participants to gain from your presentation or from your presence here at TESOL, Colombia?
Okay, I would like to start this one. For me, it's that teaching it's also a way of resisting. And I think by valuing what we have and our own local contexts, realities, and backgrounds are also meaningful and pertinent assets to develop any learning and teaching process. So I think it's also important to reconsider or consider how we are considering education in our country, especially in English language teaching education, because we oftentimes use like materials that are brought from outside our perspectives. And this is more an invitation to see what we have in here, who we are, and how those assets, how those realities, how those backgrounds may foster a more context-responsive language teaching and language pedagogy.
Thank you. I think that teaching is very liberating and transformative, because what I thought of when I became a teacher about 30 years ago is very different from what I believe and I do now as a teacher educator. I think that we were very much educated in the undergraduate program to be language specialists and to be language analysts, just to teach about the language. But I've learned that beyond learning about the language, we need to learn through language, and we need to learn by using language. So when I did my PhD in education and my emphasis was on literacy, reading and writing and those other literacies that we have now really showed me that language is much more than looking at the text and looking at the grammar of it, of the language. Really, language and teaching language and sharing language goes through telling, as the first keynote speaker was talking about, storying. We need to know our students and learn about who they are and what they bring into the classroom. We really need to open our classrooms, and we need to go beyond that. We need to let the stories that come with the students get into the classroom, and we need to hear them. We need to become community teachers interested in learning where we teach. Just look around you. I mean, when I arrived in Unisabana and I saw the difference, with this new building, is like we need to look around us to see what is it that we have that make us relate differently in this building to education. This is the postgraduate building, I think. And what is it that we have in this campus that make us the kind of students or the kind of teacher educators that we are? The same in our universities and in the schools. So I'm sure that through the research that we're doing in La Candelaria, we will learn a lot about why those teachers are so passionate about teaching and being in La Candelaria, because it's such a unique place that we have in Bogota. And leaving all that knowledge, information, and rich culture outside the classroom, we're missing a big part of teaching. So English can be taught through all those resources that we have in Bogota or in Neighbor, wherever we are teaching English. That's what we want the teachers to reflect upon through our research and through our presentations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Clavijo. Thank you again, Daniel. Thank you for those inspiring ideas and perspectives. Thank you.
For this
Bye.
space and for
Bye.
this
Bye.
conference.
Thank you.